Today, I'll introduce you to the man who got me into the Mariners.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Sunday, June 15th, 2025. This is Tiny Gonzalez for the Locked On Mariners Father's Day special, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and my co-host Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. Happy Father's Day, everyone. As you know, we usually don't post on Sundays, but I wanted to do a special episode this weekend to sit down with the man who got me into the Mariners, my dad. Enjoy. Well, as you know, we've had some really special guests join us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, from, Gary Hill Jr. and Aaron Goldsmith to Jerry DiPoto and most recently Mina Kimes, but all of them pale in comparison to today's guest, my dad, Dennis. Hey, Pop. Happy Father's Day. Hey, so we've talked about this. People ask me all the time, how can you be a Mariners fan living in Toronto, Ontario, Canada? And I've told them my background of, being born in Washington, bouncing around to New Mexico, eventually coming up here after meeting my wife, Caroline, all that stuff, right? But for you, more specifically, how does one growing up in Tampa, Florida, eventually become a Seattle Mariners fan? How does that happen?
Well, a quick story on that is entered the United States Air Force in 1976. And the fun thing about the Air Force, they let you fill out a dream sheet where you would like to get stationed. So I, of course, from Florida, put the East Coast so I could go back and forth. And I also put, like Japan down. And then all of a sudden I get orders to go to Washington State. And I thought, I'd never been to the West Coast. I don't know anything about the Washington State other than seeing the beautiful pictures. So get into the Air Force there at Tacoma, Washington, McCord Air Force Base in 1976. And once you get to Washington, you have to find things to do to keep you busy because of the weather. Mm-hmm. So being a sports fan, right off the bat, I took to the Mariners. They were starting in 77, and you could hear they were getting geared up. An MLB team coming to the Northwest was huge. And, of course, you already had the Supersonics, and the Seahawks were just around the corner from starting themselves. Mm-hmm. So how do I become a Seattle Mariner fan from Florida? Is because of the United States Air Force planting me there in Tacoma, Washington. And I got to tell you, it was a blast because the Kingdom was quite unique. There was nothing else like it at the time. So that was a big jazz. But to have a professional baseball team to follow was just a kick. And so, anyway, that's the long or short of the answer of how I became a Seattle Mariner fan for life. It's been since day one.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm mistaken, but you were a Yankees fan, at least a little bit, growing up in Tampa. So why not just stay a Yankees fan? Because that team has a hell of a lot more of a successful history than the Seattle Mariners.
So I'll date myself now. In Florida, when I was a kid, there were no professional anything sports teams, no NFL, no NBA, obviously, and no MLB.
Yep.
So my dad was kind of big into it. He built us a nice little play area out in back. He put a structure over it, had a roof, and he went out and bought all these Yankee pitchers. They were round pitchers on a metal, like a big pin but they were something big that you would put on. And it was Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford. And so right then and there, I became a Yankee fan. And of course, they were winning like crazy in the 50s when I was born and raised. And of course, my older brother and we hung out a lot together. So we were both Yankee fans. And it wasn't until the Atlanta Braves started, because there was no Atlanta Braves either, by the way. So I became an Atlanta Braves fan. and kind of watch them just because of the close proximity to Tampa, where I was born and raised. And so that's kind of got things going. So anyway, answering your question, the Yankees are always been, and then one thing, as a little leaguer and a kid that played, senior little league and ball like that, the Yankees uniform was always the best looking uniform. Those pinstripes, no one else had them. So I was always caught up with, not only was the team good, but they always looked good. And that's why I was a Yankee. And I got to be honest with you, I still watch them today. I really do. If I wasn't a Seattle Mariner fan, I would be a New York Yankee fan without a doubt.
Sure. You talk about being a Mariners fan being a day one thing for you. That was kind of just naturally a day one thing for me too. I mean, you've told me, the story about watching the game with the doctor as mom is getting ready to deliver me in the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm sure people would love to hear that story and just kind of about you kind of passing that Mariners fandom down to me.
Well, it all started out with the day of your birth, and what was cool for me is that it was a long wait because you were taking forever to come into this world. And there just happened to be a Supersonic game and a Mariner game in the same time while I'm waiting. So for me, not for your mom, it was awesome because I'm in the hospital room with her, and I'm getting to watch this. So it was super good. You were a natural because you did everything with me. As far as if there was a sports game on, you were right there with me. And so you easily captured all that and absorbed it and become part of that. And I mean, your day-to-day life as a little boy was all about sports. If your mom and you weren't playing wiffle ball out front in the front yard or whatever, we were doing something inside, you and I, sports-wise. Yeah. And so I think that's how it really got started. And of course, we had every game on. And in the old days, what was neat, there was no cable, so everything was aerial. And Seattle Mariners broadcasted every game locally. So it was easy for you to make. And of course, the other thing is we would buy you all the stuff, the sporting equipment to have, like hats and gloves and jerseys. So you really bought into it, which was fun because I had a little buddy that watched my sports games with it. And then, of course, you got to start knowing their names. I mean, you're 2 and 3 years old running around the house saying you're this person or that team person. So, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, and I came around at a pretty good time. I mean,
you hit it just right.
95 had just happened. Egger had just hit the double, all that. Yeah. I didn't really grow up with Griffey as my guy. A lot of people that I meet here that are Mariners fans or have covered the team for so long, like Griffey and A-Rod, like those were their guys. Buhner, etc. For me, it was more Ichiro, Mike Cameron. The 2001 team, for a lot of people, it's like Gary Payton, Sean Kemp with the Sonics. For me, it was Ray Allen, Richard Lewis, right?
Absolutely.
But
I was glad to have 3 sports teams for you and I to keep up with it, and it was year round.
Yeah.
That was what was cool about the different sports. It's like one season ended and you're already getting geared up for the other team or whatever. But it was a blast. And of course, my favorite thing with you to do, especially when it came to sports teams in Seattle, is if we were able to get tickets and go to a game, then it was, not living that close to Seattle. So we had to take the ferry system over to get to Seattle across the Puget Sound. So there was always a good hour to kill with you on the ferry and joking around and you jumping around. And all we did was gear up for the game. I mean, we would talk about the game and who's pitching and who's this and that. And so anyway, it was, to me, that was the joy of enjoying not only the game, but the before and after.
More from my conversation with my dad in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Open Phone. If you run in a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, you called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you need Open Phone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone is offering Locked On Mariners listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/LOCKEDONMLB. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. Again, that is openphone.com/lockedonmlb. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. You and Mom kind of had a feeling that I would get into this line of work, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think the tail tape was I walked past your room and I thought there was a telecast going on or some kind of broadcast. And I opened up the door, and you're doing the broadcast. You're simulating a baseball game. And I told myself then, I said, yes, he will either be a broadcaster, but he will be involved with sports. And your whole life, your day-to-day life was sports. I mean, there wasn't a moment you weren't thinking sports or acting out sports or whatever it was. So, yeah, you were tuned in, and I'd come home from work, and you were ready to go. If there was a game coming on when I got off work, I mean, you and I were glued. And your fans don't know this, or the people that follow you don't know this, but you had a Winnie the Pooh chair. It was a little stuffed chair, the sponge chair, and it looks like Winnie the Pooh. And you would put the Winnie the Pooh chair right next to my chair. And you and I would just right there.
I was locked in.
Locked in. Yeah, we were locked in on sports on that one. There's no doubt. And there's like every player came up. And what amazed me with you was you got to know all the players. Now you're 5, 6, 7 years old, and you know everyone on the team. And I think you at least knew their batting averages at the time, other than all this other stats you have to keep up with today. So, yeah, that kind of told me, besides the broadcast in your room, but with you with the sports every day, it really told me, pardon me just a second. And so anyway, yeah, that's kind of how it all got started. I knew, and your mom knew. Of course, you played sports, so it was a natural.
Yeah. Now, baseball, was a big part. Played a big role in your life. Also with my brothers who are far older than I am. I came along a little bit later. They were already my middle brother was already in his late teens. My oldest brother was in his early 20s when I was born. So you had kind of already gone through them growing up and showing them ball and introducing them to all of that, coaching their teams, taking them to Mariners games, stuff like that. We have a white Mariners hat somewhere in storage that is signed by Edgar Martinez and a few other Mariners. I can't remember exactly who all those signatures belong to, but correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there is a story about you potentially tracking down a couple of Mariners players in the Kingdom parking lot to get that hat signed.
Yeah, it was a great story. Being a Gonzalez, we're coming out to the parking lot of the Kingdom, and here is Edgar and a couple of other players. I don't remember exactly all were there, but they're all Hispanic Mariner baseball players. And they're just talking Spanish, and I'm not that fluent in Spanish, but I could understand a little bit what they were saying there. And I kind of just introduced myself, and as soon as I said Dennis Gonzalez, that was it. I mean, they took me in. So we happened to have, I don't know if it was Jason, your brother's hat, or Brian's, but we had this hat, and they all signed it. And to have an Edgar Martinez sign your baseball hat, I mean, that was now, of course, at that time, he wasn't quite the player yet, because I think he was a platoon player at that time and was working his way up to play third base. And then once he got to playing third base, then he pretty much was locked in. But, that was a wonderful feeling. And your brothers got a kick out of it. So it was kind of a neat time. But, yeah, they're just standing in the parking lot sitting around a car. And here's Edgar Martinez and the rest of the guys. So, anyway, that's how the hat – so we do have that hat.
Yeah. That hat is somewhere. I don't know if Jay has that hat or
I
just
think it's
somewhere
still in storage somewhere. So
yeah, with you guys. Yeah. But
so
if we ever come across that hat, I'll be sure to post it.
Yes.
But yeah, so I know, I hear from a lot of our listeners who are also day one Mariners fans like yourself that, a lot of them say like the Eggers double in 95, that whole season, that whole run being, just culminating in that double. It's kind of the best moment for them. What is your favorite moment over your many, many years watching Mariners baseball, watching this team?
Well, that's a great question. There's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
Some of the home runs that Ken Griffey Jr. would hit, that sweet swing. I mean, it's memorable. Every time I think of his name, I think of him hitting a home run. And because it was the swing was so beautiful. And I believe they've got a statue out front of
Yep, they do.
T-Mobile Park of him, and it's the swing. And I love that statue because of all the different ways they could have done Ken Griffey Jr.
My chair is lowering itself on its own, by the way. I said my chair is lowering itself. This chair sucks. People are aware of that, by the way. It's very squeaky. It typically was very talkative. Now it just likes to lower itself on its own. Continue, though. Don't mind me.
I mean, there's so many moments in Seattle Mariner history that's just wonderful. One we should share with your friends and fans is your brothers and I took you to the Kingdom for the first time. We sit up in the very most nosebleed area there is, and the whole game, because you hated when people would cheer. You're like 2 years old, and of course there's cheers in a baseball game all the time. Yeah. And so they would cheer and you would just cry. And so we went through that experience there. And then after that, you were good. We could take you to a game in that, but I guess it was your first Seattle Mariner game in the Kingdom. And I got to tell you.
I think only game in the Kingdom, too.
Yeah, it might have been. I think that's the one and only time. Well, for me, I was raised playing baseball on a grass field. Yeah. There was nothing. I loved getting to the baseball park early in the morning as a little leaguer because the lawn was just cut, the fresh cut smell. And I had been to ballparks before where you can smell the beer and hot dogs in the air and the grass. And so once the Kingdom was gone and they built at that time Safeco Field, it was just, it was precious.
Yeah. That's why I don't like going to the Rogers Center because of the dome. Like I like it when the roof. I like it when the roof is open, but when the dome is closed, it doesn't feel like baseball to me. And I know people are going to get mad because the Kingdom is the greatest thing that ever existed to a lot of people. But to me, baseball, like, it has to be played outdoors. It has to be played out in the sun. You have to get the smells and all of that, the fresh grass on top of the the beer and the hot dogs and all that good stuff. The Locked On Mariners Father's Day special continues in just a moment, but first, a reminder, this episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners Father's Day special. I'm here with my dad, Dennis. We're reminiscing a little bit, talking about going to Safeco Field back when we lived in Washington State. Still, when people ask me my favorite memory going to the ballpark, I tell them it's not going to the wild card series in Toronto. It's not seeing James Paxton's no-hitter in Toronto. It's not any of the really cool, amazing Mariners historical moments that I've seen here where I live now. It's when you took me to Mariners versus Giants in 2001 because that is Ichiro's rookie year. And I loved Ichiro growing up. Now, Mike Cameron was my favorite, but obviously I loved Ichiro. Who wouldn't love Ichiro? But it was Ichiro's rookie year.
Especially when Mike Cameron hits 4 home runs in one game. I mean,
the day after your birthday, by the way.
Yeah.
The day after your 6th birthday.
How do you beat that? So
I think that was the moment that like Cammy became my guy.
Yeah.
It was, it's the day after my 6th birthday and he hits 4 home runs, which I think when Eugenio Suarez did that this year, he was only the 17th player to ever hit 4 home runs in a game. So like that's a very rare company. That's a very rare thing to see someone do. So yeah, that was really, really cool. But yeah, so
he played outfield really good. So you loved everything about Cam.
Yeah. He was amazing. So it was Ichiro's rookie year.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds doing what he was doing, coming to town. Now I think I'm pretty sure I looked up the box score and found out like Barry went like 0 for 4 in that game. But whatever. It was cool to see Barry Bonds in person. Plus, we're like sitting like behind home plate. It was awesome. Freddie Garcia on the bump. Like when you're talking about 2001 baseball, I mean, you can't really think of a better script than that. You got the best team's best pitcher at the time. You got rookie Ichiro who's going to win the MVP. You got the National League MVP, and like, I mean, how could that be any better? So yeah, that to me is still like the coolest game I've ever attended. And we would go to a couple of Mariners games here and there. It was pretty hard getting to Seattle because we would have to drive to Bremerton and then take the ferry, and that would be an hour and a half long ordeal to go from where we live to the ballpark, and then another hour and a half or so to get back. So that was like a pretty rare instance for us going to the ballpark, but we would be able to make our way to the ballpark at least a couple times a year. You would get tickets sometimes from a company that had a deal with the company that you had worked with. And so sometimes you would get tickets through that. We would get booth tickets sometimes and all that good stuff. But I think my other favorite memory going to Safeco was actually not for a game. It was for FanFest when you and my brother Brian took me to FanFest, I think 06, 07. I got to run the bases. I got to be on the field. We got to run along the warning track and all that. Like that was really cool. Yeah.
How fun. I'm glad that's a great memory because I enjoyed it as your father, watching you again absorb everything and you were into it. And then after that, you wanted to go to every Fan Fest after that. So
I don't know if they do this anymore. Someone let us know in the comments if you know. But they also did, when the Mariners were on the road, like in the middle of the season, they did like Catching the Outfield Day, where you and your family could go. Remember, you, me, and Mom, we went. I think the Mariners were in Washington playing the Nationals at the time. This was 06, 07, I want to say. We got to play Catching the Outfield. For a while too. I think we were out there for a good 30-40 minutes, and we got to be out in like center field and really no restrictions on where we could go and all that. Like it was super cool. I'm out there like diving for balls and stuff. Like I was having a hell of a time. It was great.
But you of course you had to have the hat, the shirt, the uniform. You had to have the look every time we went. So it was fun watching you enjoy it, to be honest with you. And of course, I did too. I love baseball. But watching the Mariners from their infant stages to where they are now has really been fun to watch them grow up. I think one of the greatest ambassadors of the Seattle Mariners ever was Alvin Davis. I think he's still that way today. And, to see Edgar as a hitting coach today, and you see Ichiro pop in the dugouts every once in a while. I mean, if I was a guy hitting in baseball, I want those two guys around me to tell me how to hit a baseball. So I think the Mariners are very fortunate. And I think the Mariners are very fortunate to have Danny too. So I think it's a big plus. Dan Wilson, to me, I love all the catchers, but Dan Wilson to me was the consummate catcher of the Mariners.
He drives me insane.
I got to tell you, Cal,
as a manager, he drives me insane.
Oh, I know, but I got to tell you, Cal has won my heart, and I always text you with different slogans and phrases I won't say, but I get such a kick out of him. Yeah. But just a kick out of watching some of these players. But Alvin Davis always won my heart over as being truly is. I mean, other than Ken Griffey Jr., he's really Mr. Mariner, but so is Alvin Davis in my eyes.
For sure. So you mentioned a little bit about the in-game texts that you'll send me.
Yeah.
And now I posted some of these on Twitter.
Oh no. They're probably thinking
mostly no, not really the Cal text. Mostly your obsession with Dylan Moore.
Oh God.
Now my co-host Colby is notoriously very hot and cold on Dylan Moore.
Oh, is he?
So, sometimes Dylan Moore is the worst player ever that's ever put on a uniform. Sometimes, hey, I'm taking Dylan Moore as my guy this year. Like he'll do that as well. But yeah, you have this thing about Dylan Moore being a ball player, right?
No doubt.
And now it's kind of become a thing. Like there are a couple of people, not a lot, but a couple of people on Twitter who follow me, who whenever Dylan Moore does something, they'll tweet at me ball player 25, which is what you typically text me. So I want to know what constitutes a ball player. What makes a ball player a ball player?
He's got his head in the game, and I just from him playing in the field to when he's up at bat, he is so totally tuned in. I get a kick how he kind of bounces around the plate. Is like if he swings and misses, he kind of does this little jump type of thing that he does. But his physique, he looks like a baseball player. He's fit. Just the way he plays infield. I love his batting skills. He's the consummate ball player. He looks every bit of the part on that. I got to tell you, I'm getting the same feeling with Ben Williamson. I think is another true ball player. I'm trying to think of the new kid on second base now.
Cole Young. Yeah.
These young players that come up they're just true ball players.
Cole Young's a ball player. Right.
I call him Big Butt, but 29, boy, I got to tell you, that's a ball player too. That kid is like a sponge behind the plate.
Oh,
you never see pass balls get past him, and I got to tell you, if you're thinking of stealing on him, most times you're going to be thrown out at second base.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got your definition of what a ball player is, who earns that title. So Ben Williamson and Cole Young, now you guys are officially.
Oh, I'm keeping an eye on him.
Officially ball players. Yeah.
Oh, they truly are.
Well, Dad, this was really, really awesome. This was something that I wanted to do during the off season, but I figured Father's Day would be the best time to do this. So this was really cool. I hope people enjoyed it, and hey, maybe we can get Colby and his dad on a show like this next time. So
that'll be fun.
If you're in the
I hope I didn't bore your fans. And
no, absolutely not. Absolutely, dude, Colby is on here every single episode. What are you talking about?
It was fun for me to do it, and it just brings up a lot of memories about you, and of course about the Seattle Mariners. And I think what a wonderful gift to us as a family the Seattle Mariners have been, because of all the conversations in the house or we're driving the car. I mean, we talked a lot of sports. And so now the Seattle Mariners today, God love us. We got to keep going. Thank God for Jorge last night, because I was a little worried there in the ninth. We can't afford to get into extra innings. So
no.
But they'll turn it around. It's like any season. I'll be interested to see what they do at the trading deadline. I hope they'll get couple of good bats.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be great for business around these parts.
I can. Your mom and I always talk about when they're not doing well, and we're thinking, okay, how's those podcasts going? And I
Not
always
great.
kind of look at it a little bit differently. At least it strikes up a conversation. I mean, we can all sit there and say this is wrong and that's wrong, and what's wrong with Dan and what's wrong with Jerry, and why aren't they doing this and that?
Yeah.
So it creates a conversation. So I think winning or losing, and from your perspective, it's good either way because it creates conversation.
All right. Well,
wonderful. Yeah, buddy. Thanks. I appreciate the time and enjoyed it. You made my Father's Day today.
For sure. Happy Father's Day, Pop.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
And that's going to do it for our show. Happy Father's Day once again to all the dads out there. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. I've been your host, Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and my co-host Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.